Ayes 25, noes 12. The Assembly amendments are concurred in. Returning to unfinished business, file item number 48, Senate Bill 210. Senator Galgiani, pass on file. File item 49, Senate Bill 271. Senator Gaines. Mr. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 271 by Senator Gaines, an act relating to unmanned aircraft systems.
Senator Gaines.
Thank you, Madam President and members. Today I bring you Senate Bill 271. Assembly amendments are technical in nature. This bill would make it an infraction to knowingly and intentionally fly unmanned aircraft, properly known as drones, up to 350 feet over a public school during school hours and during extracurricular activity. This bill has been both through the Senate and the Assembly committees and has had no votes, and I would urge an aye vote.
Any discussion or debate on this measure? Any discussion or debate? Seeing none, Mr. Secretary, please call the roll.
Allen. Aye. Anderson. Aye. Bates. Aye. Bell. Aye. Berryhill. Aye. Block. Aye. Cannella. Aye. De Leon. Aye. Fuller. Aye. Gaines. Aye. Galgiani. Aye. Glazer. Aye. Hall. Aye. Hancock. Aye. Hernandez. Aye. Hertzberg. Aye. Hill. Aye. Wesso. Aye. Huff. Aye. Jackson. Aye. Latta. Aye. Leno. Aye. Leva. Aye. Liu. Aye. McGuire. Aye. Mendoza. Aye. Mitchell.
Aye.
Aye. Monning. Aye. Morlock. Aye. Morrell. Aye. Wynn. Aye. Nielsen. Aye. Pan. Pavley. Aye. Roth. Aye. Runner. Aye. Stone. Aye. Vidak. Aye. Wachowski. Aye. Wolk. Wolk, aye.
Call the absent member.
Pan. Aye.
Ayes 40, no 0. Assembly amendments are concurred in. File item 50, Senate Bill 337. Mr. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 337 by Senator Pavley, an act relating to healing arts.
Senator Pavley.
Yes, members, this measure is back for concurrence and Assembly amendments. SB 337 is a measure to provide additional, more flexible methods for physicians to document supervision between a doctor and a physician assistant, a PA, as we know them. The Assembly amendments clarify that team-based alternatives allowed in this measure will ensure adequate physician supervision and consumer protection. This bill is sponsored by the California Academy of Physicians Assistants. It has received unanimous votes throughout the process. There is no opposition to the bill. Ask for your aye vote and concurrence in Assembly amendments.
Thank you, Senator. Any discussion or debate on this measure? Any discussion or debate? Seeing none, is there any objection to the use of unanimous roll call? Seeing none, ayes 40, no 0. Assembly amendments are concurred in. File item 51, pass on file. File item 52, pass on file. File item 53, Senate Bill 399. Senator Hall? Ooh, I'm sorry, it's being re-referred. Not a problem. File item 54, Senate Bill 439. Senator Allen, Mr. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 439 by Senator Allen, an act relating to elections.
Excuse him, Senator Calderon. Thank you. Senator Allen, proceed.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, Senator Calderon. This SB 439 clarifies that election officials may offer voter registration and voting at their satellite offices prior to Election Day, in addition to their permanent offices, and also provides for the certification of ballot-on-demand printing systems. Assembly amendments that we took added a process for the certification of electronic poll books and also made some other minor technical changes. Electronic poll books will ultimately permit early voting sites and traditional polling places to be linked to state and county voter databases. This will increase voting integrity and eventually reduce the need for expensive and time-consuming provisional balloting. This bill, SB 439, is supported by the Secretary of State, California Association of Clerks and Elections Officials, Common Cause. I would therefore respectfully ask for your aye vote on concurrence in the Assembly amendments.
Thank you. Any discussion or debate? Senator Stone is signaling that he's having difficulty hearing, so we're going to ask all of you in the back of the chambers to please lower your voices. Thank you. Any discussion or debate? Any discussion or debate? Seeing none, Mr. Secretary, please call the roll.
Allen. I. Anderson. Bates. No. Bell. I. Berryhill. No. Block. I. Canella. De Leon. I. Fuller. Gaines. Galgiani. I. Glazer. Hall. I. Hancock. I. Hernandez. I. Hertzberg. I. Hill. I. Weso. I. Huff. No. Jackson. I. Lara. I. Leno. I. Leva. I. Liu. McGuire. I. Mendoza. I. Mitchell. I. Monning. I. Morlock. No. Morrell. No. Wynn. No. Nielsen. No. Pan. I. Pavley. I. Roth. I. Runner. No. Stone. No. Vidak. Wachowski. I. Wolk. Wolk, aye.
Call the absent members.
Vidak, no. Anderson? No. Canella? Fuller? No. Gaines? No. Glazer? Aye. Liu? Aye.
Ayes 26, noes 13. Assembly amendments are concurred in. File item 55, Senate Bill 466. Mr. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 466 by Senator Hill and ACT relating to nursing.
Senator Hill.
Thank you, Madam President. SB 466 is back on concurrence. This bill implements recommendations from the March oversight hearings held by the Senate Committee on Business, Professions, and Economic Development and the Assembly Business and Professions Committee. SB 466 extends the sunset date on the Board of Registered Nursing until January 1st, 2018, requires the California State Auditor's Office to conduct an audit of the board's enforcement program, and requires the board to promulgate regulations to ensure that schools grant credit for military education and experience. This bill has no opposition. Respectfully ask your aye vote on concurrence.
Thank you. Any discussion or debate? Any discussion or debate? Seeing none, is there any objection to the use of unanimous roll call? Seeing none, ayes 40, no 0. Assembly amendments are concurred in. File item 56, Senate Bill 555. Mr. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 555 by Senator Wolk and ACT relating to water.
Senator Wolk.
Thank you, Madam President. Amendments taken in the Assembly did the following. They require the State Water Resources Control Board to provide up to $400,000 in assistance for urban retail water suppliers to validate audit criteria data. 2, to clarify the timeline for the Water Board and DWR to implement the bill and the deadlines for urban retail water suppliers to comply. And 3, add co-authors. Bipartisan support, no opposition. I ask for concurrence in Assembly amendments.
Any discussion or debate on this measure? Any discussion or debate? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Allen. I. Anderson. I. Bates. I. Bell. I. Berryhill. I. Block. I. Canella. I. De Leon. Fuller. Gaines. I. Galgiani. I. Glazer. I. Hall. I. Hancock. I. Hernandez. I. Hertzberg. I. Hill. I. Weso. I. Huff. I. Jackson. I. Lara. I. Leno. I. Leva. I. Liu. I. McGuire. I. Mendoza. I. Mitchell. I. Monning. Morlock. I. Morrell. I. Wynn. I. Nielsen. I. Pan. I. Pavley. I. Roth. I. Runner. I. Stone. I. Vidak. I. Wachowski. I. Wolk. Wolk, aye.
Call the absent members.
De Leon, Fuller, Monning. Monning, aye.
Ayes 38, no 0. Assembly amendments are concurred in. File item 57, Senate Bill 557. Senator Hall. Pass on file. File item 58, Senate Bill 570. Mr. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 570 by Senator Jackson and according to personal information.
Senator Jackson.
Yes, good morning, Madam President and noisy members. Senate Bill 570 is back on concurrence. This bill improves the readability of breach notices when one's personal information has been breached. It will do so by directing that information already required under California's existing data breach law, be presented in plain language and be grouped under the following 5 headings: what happened, what information was involved, what we are doing, what you can do, and then for more information. Assembly amendments removed the requirement that data breach notices be limited to 1 page and added chaptering out language. The bill passed out of the Assembly.
Members, please. Proceed, Senator Jackson.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam President. The bill passed out of the Assembly unanimously yesterday, is supported by the California Attorney General's office, and has no opposition. I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Thank you very much. Is there any discussion or debate? Any discussion or debate? Seeing none, Mr. Secretary, please call the roll.
Allen, aye. Anderson, no. Bates, Bell, aye. Berryhill, aye. Block, aye. Canella, aye. De Leon, Fuller, aye. Gaines, aye. Galgiani, aye. Glazer, aye. Hall, aye. Hancock, aye. Hernandez, aye. Hertzberg, aye. Hill, aye. Wesso, aye. Huff, aye. Jackson, aye. Lada, aye. Leno, aye. Leyva, aye. Liu, aye. McGuire, aye. Mendoza, aye. Mitchell,
Aye.
aye. Monning, aye. Morlock, no. Morrell, Wynn, aye. Nielsen, aye. Pan, aye. Pavley, aye. Roth, aye. Runner, aye. Stone, aye. Vidak, aye. Wachowski, aye. Wolk. Wolk, aye.
Call the absent members.
Bates, aye. De Leon, Morrell, no.
Aye.
Morlock, no to aye.
Ayes 37, noes 2. The Assembly amendments are concurred in. File item 59, Senate Bill 613. Senator Allen. I couldn't hear you. Pass on file. Thank you. File item 60, Senate Bill 750. Senator Mendoza. Mr. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 750 by Senator Mendoza and Act relating to English language education.
Senator Mendoza.
Thank you, Madam President. SB 750 is back for concurrence. SB 750 was amended on the Assembly floor to make technical changes and delete Section 3 of the bill. 750 is a technical cleanup bill that addresses several issues identified by the California Department of Education staff upon their implementation of the long-term English learner statute. This bill has had no opposition, has received bipartisan support. I respectfully ask for your aye vote today.
Members, a better discussion on this item? Seeing and hearing none, is there objection to using a unanimous roll call? Seeing and hearing none, ayes 40, no 0, the measure passes. Members, we're going to go to file item 43. Senator Bell, you prepared to take up this item? Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 9 by Senator Bell, an act relating to transportation and making an appropriation therefore.
Senator Bell.
Mr. President, members, good morning. And this bill, SB 9, is back from concurrence. And the bill is a multi-year funding for transit projects, Senate concurrence here. And we are providing a multi-year planning and allocation process for the Transit and Intercity Rail Capital Program administered by the California Transportation Agency. The Assembly amendments remove the requirement for 70% of the funds be allocated to projects for a total cost, that have a total cost over $100 million or more, and that 30% go to the projects less than that amount. We define transformative capital improvement and modified eligibility application and project programming requirements. This will allow multi-year funding of large-scale and medium-scale and small-scale transit projects, making it a more efficient and cost-effective process. I urge and I vote.
Members, debate or discussion on this item? Debate or discussion? Seeing and hearing none, Secretary, please call the roll.
Allen. I. Anderson. I. Bates. I. Bell. I. Berryhill. I. Block. I. Canella. I. De Leon. Fuller. I. Gaines. I. Galgiani. I. Glazer. I. Hall. I. Hancock. I. Hernandez. I. Hertzberg. I. Hill. I. Hueso. I. Huff. Jackson. I. Lara. I. Leno. I. Leyva. I. Liu. I. McGuire. I. Mendoza. I. Mitchell. I. Monning. I. Morlock. I. Morrell. I. Wynn. I. Nielsen. I. Pan. I. Pavley. I. Roth. Runner. I. Stone. I. Vidak. I. Wachowski. I. Wolk.
Call the absent members.
De Leon. Huff. Roth. I. Huff. I. Wolk.
Ayes 38, no 0. The Assembly amendments are concurred in. Members, we're going to go back to moving on to file item 59. Senator Allen. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 613 by Senator Allen, an act relating to dementia.
Senator Allen.
Senators, there were just some minor changes made in the Assembly. This is a bill that calls for the creation of new guidelines given some of the changes in both the ACA and some other developments in the healthcare world with regards to Alzheimer's. It's something that my own grandfather suffered from. It is becoming an enormous burden on the American economy. This is a simple bill that seeks to clarify the guidelines. So I hope that this will enjoy bipartisan support. Thank you.
Members, debate or discussion on this item? Debate or discussion? Seeing and hearing none, Secretary, please call the roll.
Allen. I. Anderson. I. Bates. I. Bell. I. Berryhill. Block. I. Canella. I. De Leon. Fuller. I. Gaines. I. Galgiani. I. Glazer. I. Hall. I. Hancock. I. Hernandez. I. Hertzberg. I. Hill. I. Hueso. I. Huff. I. Jackson. I. Lara. I. Leno. I. Leyva. I. Liu. I. McGuire. I. Mendoza. I. Mitchell. I. Monning. I. Morlock. I. Morrell. I. Wynn. I. Nielsen. Pan. I. Pavley. I. Roth. I. Runner. I. Stone. I. Vidak. I. Wachowski. Wolk. Wolk, aye.
Call the absent members.
Berryhill. I. De Leon. Nielsen. Wachowski. Aye.
Ayes 38, no 0. The Assembly amendments are concurred in. Moving on to file item 61. Senator McGuire. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 148 by Senator McGuire, an act relating to school districts.
Senator McGuire.
Happy Friday, Mr. President. Senate Bill 148 is a local control funding formula bill focused on technical cleanups. The bill, which is needed by the California Department of Education, received unanimous support and no opposition. Here's what the bill does. It creates the rules and regulations related to the local control funding formula in all of its components and how those funds are calculated when districts reorganize. For example, it provides the rules and regulations when a district is divided, elementary and high school, or it explains how funds would be reallocated when a district unifies. And it's focused on several categories, including the most significant fund within the LCFF, and that is categorical programming. I do want to thank the amazing chair of education, the senator right behind me, as I'm not allowed to say her last name for the hearing yesterday. I would respectfully ask for an aye vote.
Members, debate or discussion on this item? Senator Nielsen.
Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, Senate, I am very supportive of this legislation, but I am moved to observe that this local control funding formula was a part of, an advance last year, but we have a regression that happened in the budget a little over a year ago that needs addressing, and I would even hope it could have been addressed in this deal or these amendments, and that is that onerous requirement of a reserve cap on our local school districts. They are still oppressed by that. Legislation is pending around here to do something about it. And when we have education bills, I'm going to keep reminding us not to forget the need to reform that imposition on our local school districts' ability to be prudent and independent.
Thank you. Members, an additional debate or discussion on this item? Seeing none, Senator McGuire, would you like to close?
I do want to say thank you to the senator in regards to the reminder. I do know that that is on a parallel track. This bill is needed as there are school districts across the state that are either de-unifying or unifying and need these rules and regulations related to the funding. Would respectfully ask for an aye vote.
Thank you. Members, is there objection to using our unanimous roll call? Seeing and hearing none, ayes 40, no 0. The Assembly amendments are concurred in. Members, we're going to move to three items to allow Senator Mitchell to present her items, beginning with file item 37, members. 37, that's SB 655. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 655 by Senator Mitchell, enacting the housing standards.
Senator Mitchell.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Senate Bill 655 is back from the Assembly for concurrence. We made pretty significant amendments in the Assembly, working collaboratively with the opposition, which brought the California Apartment Association and the California Association of Realtors to neutral on the current bill. In short, colleagues, the Assembly amendments did the following. It created a clear definition of mold for code enforcement officers. It states that a health or code enforcement officer will make the determination if a unit with mold is deemed to be substandard living condition. It clarifies that a tenant must notify the landlord of a mold issue, and it allows a landlord to enter a unit to make repairs with regard to mold. Again, these changes bring our primary opposition, the Apartment Association and the Association of Realtors, to neutral. This bill brings clarity for enforcement officers. It creates protections for both tenants and landlords and works to continue to move California forward with healthy families, healthy rental units, and healthy communities. I ask for your aye vote on Assembly concurrence, on the concurrent amendments.
Members, debate or discussion on this item? Debate or discussion? Seeing and hearing none, Secretary, please call the roll.
Allen. Aye. Anderson. No. Bates. No. Bell. Aye. Berryhill. No. Block. Aye. Canella. De Leon. Fuller. Gaines. Galgiani. Gaines no. Galgiani. Glazer. Aye. Hall. Aye. Hancock. Aye. Hernandez. Aye. Hertzberg. Aye. Hill. Aye. Wesso. Aye. Huff. Jackson. Aye. Lada. Aye. Leno. Aye. Leva. Aye. Liu. Aye. McGuire. Aye. Mendoza. Aye. Mitchell. Aye. Monning. Aye. Morlock. No. Morrell. No. Wynn. No. Nielsen. No. Pan. Aye. Pavley. Aye. Roth. Aye. Runner. No. Stone. No. Vidak. No. Wachowski. Aye. Wolk. Wolk, aye. Huff,
Call the
no.
absent members.
Canella. No. De Leon. Fuller. No. Galgiani.
Ayes 24, noes 14. The Assembly amendments are concurred in. Members, we're moving on to file item 51. That's file item 51, SB 359. Secretary, please call the roll.
Senate Bill 359 by Senator Mitchell, enacting to pupil instruction.
Senator Mitchell.
Thank you, Mr. President. This measure is also back on concurrence. SB 359 requires school districts with middle schools and high schools to implement fair mathematics placement policies. The amendments taken in the Assembly were technical and clarifying in nature. They simplify online posting requirements and extend the deadline for implementation of their policies to fall 2016 in line with the 2016-2017 school year. 359 has no opposition and received broad bipartisan support in the Assembly as well as this House. I ask for your aye vote.
Members, debate or discussion on this item? Debate or discussion? Seeing and hearing none, Secretary, please call the roll.
Allen. I. Anderson. Bates. I. Bell. I. Berryhill. I. Block. I. Cannella. I. De Leon. Fuller. I. Gaines. I. Galgiani. Glazer. I. Hall. I. Hancock. I. Hernandez. I. Hertzberg. I. Hill. I. Weso. I. Huff. I. Jackson. I. Lada. I. Leno. I. Leva. I. Liu. I. McGuire. I. Mendoza. I. Mitchell. I. Monning. I. Morlock. I. Morrell. No. Wynn. I. Nielsen. I. Pan. I. Pavley. I. Roth. I. Runner. Stone. I. Vidak. I. Wachowski. I. Wolk. Wolk. I. Anderson. I. Runner.
Call the
aye.
absent members.
De Leon. Galgiani. Aye.
Ayes 38, noes 1. The Assembly amendments are concurred in. Members, moving on to file item 52, SB 388. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 388 by Senator Mitchell, enacting to health care coverage.
Senator Mitchell.
Thank you once again, Mr. President. SB 388 will require that the summary of benefits and coverage document is made available in critical threshold languages by geographic area. Amendments taken in the Assembly extend the implementation to the start of the 2016 open enrollment period. This bill will once again help ensure that all plans adhere to California's language access laws. I ask there's no opposition, and it received unanimous bipartisan support in the Assembly. Again, I ask for your aye vote on concurrence.
Members, debate or discussion on this item? Debate or discussion? Seeing and hearing none, is there objection to using our unanimous roll call? Seeing and hearing none, ayes 40, no 0. The Assembly amendments are concurred in. Members, we're going to temporarily move to Assembly third reading to allow Senator Mitchell to bring up 2 items. We're moving to Assembly third reading, members, temporarily. First item is SB 253, AJR 26. That's file item 253, members. Secretary, please read.
Assembly Joint Resolution 26 by Assemblymember Weber relative to the Confederate flag and symbols.
Senator Mitchell.
Thank you, Mr. President and colleagues. This Assembly Joint Resolution focuses on encouraging Congress to ban the government use or display of the Confederate flag, specifically the Stars and Bars flag, on federal property, and encourages the states to ban Confederate symbolism in state flags, seals, and symbols. We are all acutely aware of the national debate recently on the prudence of continuing to fly the Stars and Bars flag over state houses and continuing to allow it to represent a dark past in this country's history. As we recognize the 50th anniversary of the Voting Rights Act this year, it makes sense to move away from a symbol that has caused fear and pain for so many Americans. This bill has bipartisan support in the Assembly, and on behalf of Dr. Weber, I respectfully ask for your aye vote today.
Members, debate or discussion on this item? Debate or discussion? Is there any objection to using our unanimous roll call? Seeing and hearing none, ayes 40, no 0, the measure passes. Moving on, members, to file item 279. That's file item 279, AB 1354. Secretary, please read.
Assembly Bill 1354 by Assemblymember Dodd and Act relating to discrimination.
Senator Mitchell.
Thank you very much again, Mr. President and colleagues. I'm presenting AB 1354, the Equal Pay for Equal Work Act, on behalf of Mr. Dodd. This bill seeks to compile data on gender wage inequity among state contractors and ensure state contractors abide by policies for preventing unlawful discrimination. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, over the last decade, full-time working women have continued to earn pennies to the dollar compared to a man. We've heard this statistic repeatedly on this floor. In 2013, that disparity amounted to an average annual wage gap of approximately $11,000, an annual average wage gap of $11,000. Aggregate data on the wage gap women face is also available. However, more nuanced data breaking down job category wages by gender and race has not been widely gathered. In order to appropriately target efforts to reduce and eliminate the wage gap, this data needs to be collected and analyzed. In April of 2014, the President acknowledged that effective enforcement of our equal pay laws is impeded by a lack of sufficiently robust and reliable data on employee compensation, including data by sex and race. To build on the same goal as the 2014 presidential memorandum, this bill, AB 1354, aims to help employers take proactive measures to ensure fair pay for their employees. Recent amendments have removed all opposition, and on behalf of Mr. Dodd, I ask for your aye vote.
Members, debate or discussion on this item? Debate or discussion? Hearing none. Secretary, please call the roll.
Allen. Aye. Anderson. Bates. No. Bell. Aye. Berryhill. Block. Aye. Cannella. De Leon. Fuller. No. Gaines. No. Galgiani. Glazer. Aye. Hall. Aye. Hancock. Aye. Hernandez. Aye. Hertzberg. Aye. Hill. Aye. Wisso. Aye. Huff. No. Jackson. Aye. Lada. Aye. Leno. Leva. Aye. Liu. Aye. McGuire. Aye. Mendoza. Aye. Mitchell. Aye. Monning. Aye. Morlock. No. Morrell. No. Wynn. No. Nielsen. No. Pan. Aye. Pavley. Aye. Roth. Aye. Runner. No. Stone. No. Vidak. No. Wachowski. Aye. Wolk. Wolk, aye.
Call the absent members.
Anderson. No. Berryhill. No. Cannella. De Leon. Galgiani. Aye. Leno. Aye.
Ayes 25, noes 13. The measure passes. Members, we're going to move to Senate third reading. No? Oh, motions and resolutions. Pursuant to Senate Rule 29.10, the following bills are referred to the Rules Committee. Item 53, SB 399. Thank you. Without objection, the Senate journals for August 31st through September 4th, 2015 will be approved as corrected by the minute clerk.